My name is McCravy. I'm the co-founder with the CLUCK, Citizens for Legal Urban Chicken Keeping. And I want to talk to you guys on a couple of counts that some people have raised. One, I think the fine is prohibitive. Two, I think the concrete run is not a good idea for all dimensions. The aforementioned
Speak up just a little bit.
I think the concrete run is not a good idea. I think the fine is prohibitive. $25 would be a good idea. Two, I think that if any of you had any interaction with children, you know that they're not getting the education that they need about where their food comes from. I think that that's irresponsible on our part as parents and as community members. I have a niece back here who's now homeschooling, and I said, I really want to get a flock of chickens so we can see what's going on. And we looked into the ordinances, and it's obviously illegal in Columbia. She said, well, Emily, why is it illegal? And I said, I don't really know. Sometimes laws are not for the best of the community, and I think we need to change this. And so you're looking at me right here as a result of me thinking this isn't a good idea, that we need to be allowed to have chickens. The next thing is, I don't think that we need to make a blanket statement about who is not going to keep their chickens properly. If we did that, we would go and say, you don't need to be having children. You don't need to have a pit bull chained up in your front yard with no water and no doghouse. I think people are keeping chickens right now, and I can almost guarantee every one of you sitting there that someone is keeping chickens in your neighborhood and you don't know it. Maybe even your neighbor. You've never heard them, you've never smelled them, you've never seen a fly. And that's pretty much proof in the pudding that it's already happening, and all we're doing now is basically sanctioning it in our city. Very responsible people, very irresponsible people are keeping chickens. The other thing is, if anyone here has ever eaten an egg, unless you have bought a organic, free-range, sustainably raised bottled egg, you have contributed to one of the most harmful, pollution-causing, inhumane industries that exist on the face of the earth right now. And I think it's ridiculous to say that if these people are going to keep 4 hens in an inhumane way, we can't pass this ordinance, because the industrial chicken raising that goes on in this country is ridiculous. You're talking about chickens that are debeaked, that are kept in a crate this big with 5 or 6 hens. And if you're saying to me in certain areas in Columbia that people are going to keep their chickens more inhumanely than the eggs that you go and buy at Kroger, I think that's not a fact. So I really need to speak to that. I need to speak to the fact that your chickens are not going to smell any worse than your dog poop. Your chickens are never going to get out and bite at your neighbor's child. Your chickens are never going to bark in the middle of the night when you're waking up at 4 a.m. to go on shift for your paper route. They're not going to cause a problem. And I think this is a benign ordinance. I think that everybody just needs to think in their mind, okay, is this really going to cause a problem? It's not. And I just want y'all to think about that. I want you to look at all the people that turned out here today and all the 5 or 6 or 7 people that had to leave early. And they really want this to go through. I mean, they really do. There's been a lot of community activism, a lot of people that have come forward and said, this is a wonderful idea. I want to put Columbia on the map. I want to be a forward-thinking city. So just keep that in mind.
All right, thank you. Matthew.
A question and I guess a request. And we have public hearings and we have people who can come out. There are a lot of people who have an opinion who cannot come out. Sometimes they send us emails or call us. I have gotten a lot of emails. I think several of us have people who are not in support of the ordinance, but a lot of people who they may not be in support just because they don't know, or some of the things that you've mentioned or that some of us have mentioned that I think is a natural assumption of it. And with an organization like yours, what I would request is that we are not taking any action today. We're just hearing concerns, and I think there are valid concerns and issues and opinions on both sides. But I think having some dialogue and some information out about just certain issues that you brought to our attention would go a long way, I think, in educating our community about the pros and cons.
I will say that when I was talking to Ms. Gergel, that I joked with her that there's been like some national campaign against chickens, like on the level of like folic acid, that you have to take folic acid to be pregnant against chickens, because everybody when you mention a chicken, they're like, it's going to be noisy, it's going to be dirty. Nobody's even seen a chicken in their life. They've never even seen chicken. Well,
I would suggest with this Brian said also, go to Columbia Council neighborhoods, talk to the people in the neighborhood, because we had an earful last night about a lot of